gorgeous September afternoon here in Philadelphia. And we're set for Cubs baseball on WGN Sports. The Cubs and the Phillies wrap up a 4-game set. The Cubs have won 2 of the first 3. Great to have you with us, Jim DeShays and Len Casper, and we're going to get right into today's pitching matchup. A couple of veteran right-handers who will try to keep the ball in the yard.
Yeah, 2 guys who are fly ball pitchers who'll give up a fair number of home runs. Winds blowing out. This has always been a good hitter's ballpark, so a concern today for both of these veteran right-handers as we check in on the numbers. Dan Haren, his 9th win last time out, 7 shutout against the Cardinals, so he's 9-9 with a 3.73. Aaron Harang, the Cubs have seen a whole lot of him over the years. He got to a good start this year, but his ERA after the All-Star break is above 7.
Be nice to win this one and be no worse than 3 games behind the Pirates going into that big series.
Yeah, normally a 4-game series on the road, you're happy with a split, but not when you're playing a last-place club, and the Cubs really would love to get this one here today.
So last night the Cubs scored early and tried to hang on, but then it got really crazy late as the Phillies would win it on a game-ending home run from Cody Ashen. Game 4 of the set is next. Budweiser, still brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you. Honda, start something special with a great deal on a Honda now at your Honda dealer. Napa, home of Napa know-how. Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at localfordstores.com. Subway, make a smart play for savory subs this season. Score more flavor at Subway restaurants. Subway, eat fresh. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Chicago Cubs baseball in high definition on WGN TV is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Let's look at the Cubs batting order, brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. .com. Cubs averaging 4.46 runs per game on the road, leading the National League. Fowler, Schwarber, and Coghlan 1 through 3. We see that a lot against right-handed pitching. Rizzo, Bryant, Montero in the middle. Montero with huge numbers against Aaron Harang. Same for Starlin Castro. He gets the nod at second. Dan Herron will do the pitching. Herron and Harang, the pitching matchup. And Addison Russell, the shortstop, will hit ninth.
Phillies defensively aligned this way today. Altair, Herrera, Bogusevic. Left, center, right. Infield, the last night's hero, Cody Ashe, gets a start at third. Galvis Hernandez up the middle. The veteran Ryan Howard at first base. Rookie Cameron Rupp behind the plate. For the big guy, Aaron Harang, 37 years of age, now 13th year in the big leagues, 6'7", 260, 5-15 with an ERA of 5.02. It's been a rough go for him lately. A 7.38 ERA since the All-Star break, 8.04 over his last 3 starts.
Set the umpires for you. The crew chief, Eric Cooper, is behind the plate. Quinn Walcott is at first, Lance Barksdale at second, and Ryan Blackney is at third. If you hear the fans making noise about an Eric Cooper call, they could be saying "coop" and not "boo."
He tells them that self every time he's assigned to work home plate.
Dexter Fowler to lead off, and he takes a fastball for a strike. You see the Phillies wearing their Sunday home unis in the late 1940s style, the cream with the blue caps and red bills. I like them. I've been wearing these for a while as their alternate home uniform. Swing and a miss.
Aaron will go 88 to 92 with the fastball. Throw a 2-seamer, also a 4-seam fastball. Slider, change, and a curve.
It's cooled off a bit. 71 degrees as we get started. Mostly cloudy and windy today. You see the wind blowing out toward right. Over under on total home runs in this game based on the numbers in your gut.
I'm going to go with 3.
Okay. Sharply hit on the ground right at Hernandez, the second baseman. And 1 out. Harang has faced the Cubs a lot. This is the 29th time, but you know he hasn't really faced this version.
This group, yeah, he's very familiar with the jerseys. So he's faced that blue uniform a lot. But the individuals, not so much.
Kyle Schwarber enjoyed your leadoff man interview with Kyle. He was a very mature 22-year-old.
He really gets it.
It's not only that he says the right things. I think he believes all the things he says. It's not as if he's polished in terms of
right. He's not spinning things. Yeah. He's honest with you, and he
self-deprecating. He won't turn 23 until next year in spring training, March 5th. 2-1. Harang from Southern California. San Diego native, went to San Diego State and has been around for a while. He debuted with Oakland in 2002.
Borderline. Bottom of the knees. Yeah, originally drafted by the Rangers in 1999 in the 6th round. A real nice run with the Reds. 7 years in a Cincinnati uniform. Did a lot of winning there. He's played for 6 different teams now over the last 4 seasons.
Working quickly. And he just missed the outside corner. It's full. 3-2. Chris Coghlan waits on deck. Swing and a miss. Strike 3.
Harang is one of those guys over the years, the hitters would tell you he's got that invisible. He's not a real hard thrower. Doesn't mean his fastball is not effective. You saw there 91. A challenge fastball over the heart of the plate and able to get it by Schwarber. He's got a real tight, short arc. That arm stroke and gets a lot of backspin on his fastball. And guys are just a little late getting started. They don't pick it up quickly.
15 losses, tied for the most in the majors. Jesse Chavez and Andrew Kashner, former Cub, each with 15 defeats. Well, 1-0 is low. 2 balls, no strikes on Coghlan. JD mentioned the great start Harang got off to this year, and you go back to last year, he went over 200 innings with the Braves and had a nice 3.57 earned run average. Driven deep to left, back toward the wall, and it stays in the yard. Leaping attempt by Altair. Coghlan on his way to third. The throw there. Not in time. It's a triple. Altair may have saved a home run. I don't know if his glove knocked the ball back in play or if it hit the top of the wall. But it's a 2-out triple for Coghlan.
Coghlan had great at-bats in the ballgame last night. He walked and then flew out deep to the wall. Very similar to this. Francoeur made a play on him. That one looked like it was right off the top of the wall.
The chain link fence on top of the padding. I don't think Altair knocked it down. Altair tried to alter the fly ball.
So is that chain link fence is a little bit behind the padded wall there, right? Or is it right off the top of it?
I think it's right at the top.
Either way, so you got to clear all that. You got to hit it into
yes.
Mrs. O'Brien's flowers there to get the home run.
Rizzo now with a runner at third and 2 outs. Swing and a miss.
But anyway, Coghlan last night was really good at bats all night. A couple real hard shots that went for outs, and ultimately a 2-run double in the 8th, the 4-run 8th inning as the Cubs rallied to tie it. Got him.
Just got hit again 27 times. Got hit last night as well. Yeah, the ground rule here is over the fence and in the plantings. You got to get it into the garden. Chris Bryant, base hit, Cubs lead 1-0. All this happening with 2 outs. Triple, hit by pitch, single. Bryant with his 92nd RBI. And for him now, that's 15 knocked in his last 13 games.
Yeah, stayed back nicely there on either a slider or a cut fastball from Harang. See this a lot. He brings that bat head through the zone. You get a lot of topspin on a ball like that. And off the bat, I think the infielder feels like he's going to have a chance to make a play on it, but it's by him before he knows it.
Miguel Montero, 13 for 23 and a home run off Aaron Harang. Aggressive swing that time. 1 ball, 1 strike. I think Nathan Barnett, the voice of the Myrtle Beach Pelicans, he'll be working tonight as they start the Mills Cup against Wilmington. Excellent leadoff man report. Jorge Soler will be in their lineup. We could go to that game.
We could.
Delaware. It's not far from here.
No, not far at all.
That's a strike. It's 1-2. Two and two.
Harang wanted that one. He got the benefit of the doubt on the previous one. A changeup that was down around the bottom of the knees, and then he tried that two-seam fastball. Cooper wouldn't give him that one.
Montero and Rizzo, certain guys, Joey Votto, they've got that little rear end thrust, right? They really sell it that it's inside. That time, though, called strike 3. 1-0 Cubs. Phillies coming up. Native Pete McCannon, Hernandez, Galvis, and Herrera will start at Altair. Homer the other night on Jake Arrieta. Ryan Howard, big game-tying double off the bench last night. Cameron Rupp, the catcher. Brian Bogusevic, former Cub, will play right. Cody Ashe at the game-ending homer last night in Game 3 will hit 8th, and Harang, the pitcher, hits 9th.
Cubs set up this way this afternoon. Schwarber, Fowler, Coughlin left, center, right. Bryant, Russell, Castro, Rizzo third to first. Montero behind the plate. And Dan Heron on the mound. 34 years of age, 6'5", 215. 9-9 this year with a 373. He's 2-6 lifetime against the Phils. This is his 4th start against them this year.
Well, the previous 3 coming with the Miami Marlins before the trade that brought him to the Cubs. 1 strike on the switch hitting Hernandez. That's in there. It's 0-2.
7 shutout for Heron last time against the Cardinals. Threw a lot of split-fingered pitches in that game. Fastballs, cutters, curves, and splitters for Heron.
Strike 3 call.
one more, and he will have 2,000 major league strikeouts. Paints the outside corner at the knees to get Hernandez.
He does get that 2,000th. He'll be the 5th active pitcher and the 70th all-time with 150 wins. And the 2,000 punch-outs. 1-0 on Galvis, the shortstop.
He's had a very nice career. 3-time All-Star. (151) major league wins against 131 losses. .376 lifetime earned run average.
Line into right, base hit. Galvis is aboard. That's his first hit of the series. He's 1 for 9.
Despite all that winning, Dan has never won in this ballpark. This is the only stadium in which he has made at least 2 starts, or more than 2 starts rather, that he has not picked up a W. He's 0-4 here with an ERA above 6. And 0-5 in this city. He pitched once in the Vet and lost there as well. So it's, on a personal level, aside from helping his team win here, this would kind of be on the bucket list of winning this ballpark.
Odubel Herrera. And Castro just can't reach it. Back-to-back singles. So 2 on for the Phillies, and here's Aaron Altair. He's playing left. Phillies have already clinched the season series. Won 4 of the first 6. Cubs are 4-2 on this long road trip. Curve is low.
Off day tomorrow before the day-night doubleheader with the Pirates on Tuesday.
Yeah, we've got pitching matchups for that series. I will give them to you in a second. Jason Hamill and Garrett Cole in the day game on Tuesday, so we've got the Cole-Hamill matchup. It's kind of fun. Lefties in the night game. John Lester and Jay Happ, who has been lights out for the Pirates. 5-1 with a 179. Wednesday night, it is Jake Arrieta and AJ Burnett. And then Thursday afternoon, Kyle Hendricks and Charlie Morton.
There's got speed. He has power. Hit a home run here the other night off Arrieta. Cutter catches the outside corner at the knees.
We will have the night game Tuesday here on WGN at 6 o'clock. And then Thursday's getaway day, 11:30 a.m. Full count. Runners go, and it's popped up. Foul territory. Rizzo racing over, and he will not have a play on it.
Buchanan starting the base runners there on 3-2 with 1 out. He's got speed on the bases. Galvis and Herrera both good runners.
There they go again. Ball 4. That will load the bases for Ryan Howard.
A shot at that outside corner just didn't get there. Howard 6 out of 24 in his career against Heron, and 4 of those 6 hits have left the ballpark.
A lot of interesting connections between these 2 starting pitchers today. Dan Heron and Aaron Harang. Names sound similar. They've been around for a long time. They give up home runs. They're both from Southern California, and they just kind of have that very calm, cool demeanor.
SoCal vibe.
Yeah, you rarely see either guy look overly happy or overly upset. 2-0. He's putting himself in a corner here.
Part of the reason they have survived and thrived so long at the major league level. Yeah, he's in a bit of a bind here. As I mentioned, the splitter, a real good pitch for him last time, especially against the lefty hitters for the Cardinals.
Right field corner out of play.
I'm not so sure that that ball girl down there really knew where that ball was headed. I thought she was going to run right into it for a minute.
Bryant, the only infielder to the left of second. He's playing right between second and third. 3-1.
Walking in a run here, not the end of the world.
Fly to center. Galvis will tag. Herrera looks like he wants to as well. The throw is going to go to third. Sac fly, Ryan Howard. Tie ball game.
A trade that Dan Heron willing to take in that situation. 3 balls, 1 strike on Ryan Howard. Trade that out for a run and move on.
Career RBI number 1,132 for Howard. So he only needs 463 more to tie Mike Schmidt for the club record. That's it.
How many?
He needs 463 RBIs to tie Mike Schmidt. So in the non-Mike Schmidt category, Ryan Howard has been best power hitter in Phillies history. 355 homers, over 1,100 RBIs. That guy with 548 home runs. Into left and a base hit. Herrera around third. Schwarber's throw to the plate. Off the mark. And it's 2-1 Phillies. Cameron Rupp with his first hit of the weekend.
And Schwarber gets on in good shape. Airmails the throw a little bit. They might have a shot at him with an accurate throw.
Brian Bogusevic, second and third. Back runners moved up on the throw to the plate. 7th batter of the inning. Aaron's 0-1. Fouled out of play.
Two of Dan's 3 starts against the Phillies this year have taken place in this ballpark. 4 runs on 4 hits in 6 innings back in April, and then 5 runs, 6 innings here on July 19th.
Blowing in on Bogusevic, product of De La Salle Institute. Born in Oakland, Illinois, and went on to Tulane University. 47 games as a Cub in 2013. Two and two. His 7th game with the Phillies. 4 for 8 with a home run. Swing and a miss, and the inning is over. Second strikeout for Herron. Phillies get 2 and lead after 1. Sylvester Stallone was not the model for that statue. It was Jim Deshaies. Just the back.
The back model.
But Sly's face in the front. So 2-1 Phillies. Castro, Herron, and Russell. And well, it was nice and sunny about 3 hours ago, and it is very overcast. Clouds have darkened a bit. Rain has definitely been a part of this series. 50 minutes. We started late last night. We're rained out Thursday, forcing a doubleheader Friday. The 0-1 on the inside corner. Castro didn't like it.
Well, looks like Eric Cooper is going to be willing to expand that zone a little bit down. And hitters are going to have to be aware of that.
Going in. And that's not where Rupp wanted it. But with 2 strikes, it did not hurt Harang. I'm going to go Herron and Herring, I'm sure, on a few occasions. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Well, Herring running out of time here to get his season turned around. As we're in the middle of September, he's been into a real rough patch here. Lift his spirits if he could put some solid starts together between now and the end of the year. He's certainly the senior man here on this staff. So many youngsters now in the rotation for the Phillies.
Harang is a large man, 6'7", 260. Love to see C.J. Edwards try to wear his hat. C.J.'s a size 7, by the way. I think Juan Pierre was like a 6 and something. It has started to rain. Ground ball to the shortstop, Galvis.
Ryan Howard with 2 hands catching that ball. Galvis is throwing him some balls the other night down below the knees. He's got Brandon Hyde laughing out there. Howard not the best defensively. Dude, man, one time hit me in the chest, would you please?
Breaking ball misses outside on young Addison Russell. Yeah, the thing about Harang, you go back on Fangraphs, his fastball velocity has been incredibly consistent. It's not like he was 93 and now is 88. I mean, he's been 89.3, 89.8, 90.8, 90.5, 89.6.
Yeah, and so he's that kind of guy, even though he's 37 years of age. That's why these are important starts for him, because if he wants to continue pitching, this will enhance his opportunities in the offseason. Given the year that he's had and his age, best he's probably going to do is a non-guaranteed contract with an invite to camp somewhere. But just want to let the baseball world know that, yeah, I'm having a bad year, but I'm still healthy. My stuff kind of looks the same as it's always looked. And
so if the velocity on all the pitches is pretty much static over a period of a decade, you would expect a veteran guy to be pretty good. That's out in the deep left center. Anyway, I've got a question about velocity I will ask you later. Remind me, okay?
Okay.
Don't let me forget. It's all on you.
I'm writing a note in my book right now.
2-1 Phillies. On the WGNTV.com right now. Click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner and connect to all the up-to-the-minute stats and info while watching at home. Game Zone is sponsored by The Great Escape, pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, and more. Everything you need to have more fun at home this summer. The strikeout of Bogus Sevic was the 2000th of Dan Herron's career. That ended the first inning. Cody Ashe pummeled one to right to win the ball game last night. I called it off the foul pole in right. And our angle up here in the booth, it deflected back, but it actually hit the Budweiser sign. So it was fair by a fair amount.
And no doubter, second career walk-off home run for him. Exactly a year ago last night was his first. So you do not want to pitch to him late on September 12th.
Certainly not. And he just walked to lead off the inning.
Okay, Cub fans, let's go. Don't miss the stretch run at Wrigley Field. The Cubs return home. Final homestand this Friday, September 18th. And some big matchups. Cardinals, Brewers, Pirates, and one with the Royals. To purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com.
Runner goes, and Harang fouls. A little hit and run action. Boy, Aaron Harang, he's done something right. He's hitting 171. I recall years ago thinking and watching him at the plate, he just did not look like he really wanted to be there. He is a career .097 hitter. Well above that average so far this season. That's high. It's 1-1. The
Cannon kind of similar to Joe Madden with his approach here. Let him swing and then put the bunt on.
Between innings, head groundskeeper was chatting with the crew chief Eric Cooper, and based just on the body language, it looked like he was saying we should be okay in terms of the rain. There's the bunt. And we'll go 1-4 with Castro covering. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on WGN. The skies have brightened. We might have a rainbow sighting here at some point. Hernandez, the hitter. So my question, and I suppose I could use Dan Herron as an example, although he used to throw a little harder than Moran, right? Can you have similar velocity but less life? Can you be a guy who averages 89 on your fastball one year and then same the next, but it just doesn't look the same?
I don't know. That's a good question. I hear people around the game talk about finish, life in the hitting zone, things of that nature. Seems to me 89 is 89.
Right.
I mean, you got to have less movement.
I'm supposed to say I had a kinetics professor named Les Movement in college. 3-1. High fly ball out into left center. It's Fowler. Ashe holding at second.
I guess the other question would be, well, why would a guy, if he's able to maintain the same stuff all those years, with 1 year pitch to a 3.5 ERA, and the next year have a 5 and change, and it's just the nature of baseball. You're not locating quite as well. And I think it's tougher too if you're a veteran guy like Aaron Harang on a team like the Phillies, losing as much as they do. It's a little bit tougher to stay mentally engaged.
Galvis singled in the first inning. Going around to score on the sac fly by Ryan Howard. Cardinals are down again 2-0 in the fourth in Cincinnati. Can you imagine a 4-game sweep? Last place team started that series 30.5 behind the Cardinals. Now, if that's not baseball, I don't know what is. 30-game split, and the last place team poised to possibly engineer a 4-game sweep. Pirates are down early, 2-0 in the first against the Brewers.
Yeah, and it really can only happen in baseball too. You think about the other major sports. On any given night in basketball or hockey, or any given Sunday in the NFL, one team can beat another. But if you take a first place club against the last place club in those sports and play a series of games, highly unlikely that the last place club is going to knock the first place club off 4 times in a row.
Correct. In the dirt. Speaking of basketball, sad news. Moses Malone, the Hall of Fame center, had a great career for the 76ers, has passed away at age 60. Comes on the heels of Darryl Dawkins, who also died a few weeks ago.
And I didn't see details on Moses Malone. Do you know the cause of death?
I don't. Two-two pitch, pulled into the seats, foul. Nice grab by a fan on the bare hand. Into center, a base hit. Ashe around third. Going to be a play. He's out. And that will end the inning. Dexter Fowler nails Cody Ashe at home plate. And it remains 2-1 Phillies.
intrigued to look at the Mazda replay cam because it was a heck of a play. 2 outs. Fowler gets on this ball in a hurry. Good, strong, accurate throw. And it's just enough time for Montero to secure that ball and apply the tag. And Cubs already down a run. They would have been down 2 with the middle of the order hitting. That was a huge play. Looked like Miggy just briefly, the ball was rolling around a little bit in his mitt. He was able to secure it and then apply that tag.
Mazda conviction, creativity, courage. This is the Mazda way. One and one to Fowler. On the move and a diving grab by Bogusevic. What a play. So Fowler with a great throw. Bogusevic the great catch.
Yeah, I looked for sure extra bases for Fowler. Kind of awkward the way Bogusevic went after this one at the end, but a beautiful play to take away 2, possibly 3 bases from Fowler.
That could be a huge play. Kyle Schwarber on the ground to Howard. Harang is over. Quickly 2 outs.
I get the sense that sometimes Ryan Howard is surprised when he makes a play like that.
It's been a bit of an adventure.
Kind of the vibe he's giving off when he's talking to Brandon after the play. It hasn't been easy for him down there in this series. And position players will tell you in the field they run hot and cold defensively like they do in the batter's box. Not all of them, but some. Just get into a good rhythm and feel real comfortable defensively. Then if you make a couple of errors, it gets in your head a little bit. You start thinking too much and not reacting. In a typical Aaron Harang start, you'll see a lot of four-seam fastballs fouled off like that. Guys feel like they're on them, and they're just a little bit underneath, a little bit behind it. It's kind of a short strider for such a big guy. Trying to get that inside corner call from Eric Cooper, and Cooper is not going to budge.
High drive to right. Gonna be back at the wall, off the wall. Coughlin on his way to third. He's got 2 triples today. Well, I thought Bogusevic was going to catch it. I think Brian thought he was going to catch it. And then I noticed the flags again and realized the wind is going to make that an extra base hit.
And this is where it's really going to help today, that ball to right field. So Coughlin about 2 feet short of 2 home runs here in this game. So he has to settle for 2 triples. Ooh, wait a minute. Fan got a hand on that one.
Okay, here's the thing. Pete McCannon coming out to ask Eric Cooper. Why would he ask? Because this could turn into a home run.
Yeah, Pete must feel very confident that the fan leaned over and that it would be 2 bases.
I think this is a very risky thing for Pete Mackanin to do.
Yeah.
That's a 2-out extra base hit. And if they go to New York, this could turn into a home run. And yeah, they're going to look at it. It's also not just 2 bases for fan interference. It could be 3.
They could place him at third anyway, right? Yeah.
I don't see the upside.
There doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of upside here for Mackanin.
I don't see any for the Phillies. Is there enough here to say that's a home run?
I don't think there's enough there to say it's a home run, but they might get a better look at it than I'm getting right now. And
oh man,
I mean,
that looks like a home run.
My best guess is home run, but I don't know if there's enough there for them to make that determination. And I'm with you. I think this is a mistake by Pete to challenge this one. I was surprised. I'm looking at the replay initially, seeing the fan make contact, and I expect to see Joe coming out. And I look down and see Mackanin on the field.
They're looking at the board, even though Eric Cooper's just simply listening. They're making the call in New York, but there is a side view they just put on the board and left. Looks like the camera is right in the right field corner, looking along the wall, and I couldn't really tell if it was more definitive than the look we have.
So now they're saying it's a crew chief review for a potential home run.
Right.
And instigated by the fact that Mackanin went out and was trying to argue that it should be a 2-base hit. How about the swings Coughlin's had last 5 or 6 plate appearances here last night and tonight, this afternoon? Appears to be locked in.
Yep. We had another one this year, didn't we? Where similar, the manager came out on a boundary call, ended up being worse than what he originally wanted, and then he argued, oh, it was Brian Price.
Yeah.
He was arguing for a double and ended up being a home run, and I think he was saying, no, you can't make it worse than what I asked for, but they actually can.
Sure.
Am I right that it was Brian Price?
That sounds right.
Well, last night on the play at the plate, Joe was specific in asking about the collision rule, because that allowed them to look at that and the out safe part of the play.
Yeah, Chris Bryant was thrown out at home on a ground ball to the infield, and you saw the replay. He was tagged. The out call was correct. He was tagged before he got to home plate. Then the question was, did the catcher blocked the plate illegally or not, and it was ruled that he did not. This one's taken a long time, a lot of different looks.
I don't see any scenario under which Coughling would go back to second. Right? I think it's either 3 or a home run.
Well, unless the scenario is they blow the call.
But did the fan touching it really affect where the runner was?
Right, I agree, but I'm saying I guess the umpires could judge that interference 2 bases, but I would not agree with that call. And maybe McCannon, his initial thinking might have been if the fan doesn't interfere with that ball, Bogusevic catches it. I don't see that. That would be the justification for Pete going out there to say, if that fan doesn't touch that ball, my guy's going to make the play.
We'll try to make it more challenging for him to catch the next one.
And, you know, this would justify, I guess, the challenge from McCannon's point of view, but there's no way Bogey's going to make a play on that ball. And when you're down there in the dugout looking at it, you may see things a little bit differently. He's already at his quota anyway. He's already made one spectacular play in the inning. That's enough.
So, status quo. It's a triple. And I think Pete McCannon should be very pleased that they didn't change the call. So that was a crew chief review, so McCannon keeps his challenge. Rizzo was hit by a pitch in the first inning. And then Bryant knocked in Coghlan.
It was a 6-minute, 17-second review. For those of you who keep a very detailed scorecard and you want to know how long the review was.
Yeah, I still think it was a home run, but we just could not find definitive evidence to show that. Shallow center. It's the shortstop Galvis, and the inning is over. 2-out triple. Coghlan is second of the game with no runs. Blog at WGNTV.com, sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 37 years. To join the nation, contact Jeff at jeffvuk.com. Nationwide is on your side. Some crab fries
crab fries?
Heats.
Like crab meat?
I don't know if they actually is crab meat, but they're called crab fries. I guess that's how they're seasoned. Looks good.
I like a good crinkle cut fry.
Yeah, the texture of a fry does matter, doesn't it? And we'll get into that on our next podcast. It doesn't exist. 1-2.
Like a nice steak fry.
Do you make the call?
Good.
What kind of fry do you like? You make the call. 1-2.
They're a very energetic guy. Always bouncing around.
Richard getting loose. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Selfie time. Hashtag WGN Cubs. And that is great. Were you manning the controls on that?
Yeah, that was a legit selfie. That's Kyle's finger, not mine.
You can tell it's
not operator error. It was him just pointing at the camera.
Hand is as large as your face. Breaking ball strike on Altair. So this could end up looking like the bullpen night we saw last night. If Aaron doesn't get through 3 or 4. Pulled into the corner. And Schwarber will pick up the loose change on the warning track. That's a double. We ended up talking about the crazy finish last night. The real story early was Travis Wood and Trevor Cahill. They combined for 6 shutout innings. No walks, 8 strikeouts before the rest of the bullpen struggled.
Yeah, they were both outstanding, and then Justin Grimm came in and got off to a great start with a couple of punch-outs. And things unraveled from there. Anthony made an error down at first base. It certainly didn't help. But Grimm has been so good this year. And he ended up being charged with 5 runs. They were unearned, but he walked 3. And then Ashley got Rondon for the game winner. So I've got the situation bubbling up out there in the pen where Strop has been kind of so-so lately. Grimm's had a couple rough ones, and now this home run given up by Rondon. Hopefully there's no lingering effects, but you're always worried about those guys, those high leverage late inning guys. And Grimm's not really a late inning guy, but he's certainly a high leverage guy in that he comes in a lot of times in the middle of the game in critical situations. You wonder where their psyches are at this really very important time of the season.
One and 1 to Howard. Each team scored in the first. Nothing in the second. Cubs were held off the board here in the top of the third, and now the Phillies have a man at second with 1 out, and Howard sends a towering fly to right. Again, the wind is blowing in that direction, and it's going to go a home run for Howard.
He just kind of assume with his strength when the ball's hit in the air with that trajectory in that direction with the wind blowing the way it is, that's going to get out of here. I don't think he would tell you that he absolutely got all of this one, but he got enough of it. Lifted it. He's a strong man. The wind is helping. And it's a 2-run jack. His 22nd of the year, 31st allowed by Dan. He had allowed home runs in 9 consecutive starts and then snapped it with the shutout effort in St. Louis last time.
So Howard with his team leading 22nd homer and his 76 RBIs, also to lead the Phils. It's low. 356th career homer, most among Phillies left-handed hitters all time. Still 192 behind Mike Schmidt for the franchise all-time lead, regardless of lefty-righty. Popped up by Rupp. Castro's got it.
Cubs fans, here's your opportunity to register to win the chance to purchase 2015 Cubs postseason tickets for games played at Wrigley Field. Go to Cubs.com/postseason to register. Learn more about this postseason ticket purchase opportunity. The Cubs will conduct random drawings from eligible fans who successfully complete the registration form.
Sevic shoots one out toward right center. A diving catch and an extra base hit against his former team.
Yeah, Bogasevic, an interesting guy, former first-round pick of the Astros, signed as a pitcher. Tried that for a while, didn't work out. And he's a two-way player in college, obviously. Real good athlete. Made the transition to the outfield, so he still hasn't had a ton of at-bats as a position player, but I watched this guy play a little bit in Houston. I watched him when he was with us in Chicago. And to me, he looks like a big league player, but he has a hard time staking his claim and staying with a big league club.
He will intentionally walk Ashe to get to the pitcher, Orion. Yeah, the proverbial quadruple A player. He's trying to establish himself, and then he flashes.
And then the clock, the calendar starts to work against you because he makes, he made the transition from pitcher to outfielder, so he's not a real young guy. So teams are, less likely to invest in him long term. I still think he could find a home on a big league club as a good, solid platoon type player, fourth outfielder.
Hey, the final Budweiser Bleacher Friday will help turn singles into doubles as Cub fans mingle. While the Cubs battle the Cards this coming Friday, September 18th at 1:20. Budweiser Bleacher fans 21 and older get a 3/4 length sleeve Cubs top. And the afternoon also includes fun social media interaction and creative food pairings. Visit Cubs.com for details.
Whoever thought you would hear the phrase food pairings in conjunction with a trip to the bleachers?
On the outside corner. Swing and a miss. And that'll end the inning. 2-run homer, Ryan Howard. And it's now 4-1. and an official Cubs MasterCard debit card. It's only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Cubs to learn more. Member FDIC. Phillies trying to earn a split. They have been really tough on the Cubs this year. Cardinals trying to avoid a 4-game sweep at the last place Reds. Pirates have had their hands full against Milwaukee this year. Why? It's baseball.
Brewers lead the Pirates 4-1 here this afternoon. Pirates had a good day yesterday. Cubs lost. Cardinals lost twice.
One strike on Bryant.
So the Pirates 3 better than the Cubs, and 2.5 behind the Cardinals. Start to play this afternoon.
.92 knocked in for Chris Bryant. Puts him in the top 4 in the National League. Trying to become the 4th NL rookie in the divisional era. That dates back to 1969 to finish in the top 5 in RBIs. Fly ball foul. Stands really jut out as you get to within about 100 feet of the foul pole. Takes away a lot of foul territory.
You get some sense of how the run scoring has changed. In 2001, Albert Pujols, as a rookie, drove in 130. That was good for tied 5th in the league.
That right there just set a new Cubs single season record. Chris Bryant with his 175th strikeout. Sammy Sosa had the old record, 174 back in '97. Montero. Lines foul out of play. Chris is going to strike out a lot, and he may break his own record next year. The key is that he continues to take his walks.
Yeah, you draw a lot of walks. You hit the ball out of the ballpark a whole bunch. You can live with the strikeouts.
As we've seen with Anthony Rizzo, as you mature in this game, maybe your approach slightly changes, especially with 2 strikes. High fly, foul territory into the seats. Got him. 5 for Harang.
Montero, who had posted great numbers against Harang coming in, has punched out both times here today.
Got away from Harang in the dirt. 2-0. Castro was at 237 on August 22nd. 417 over his last 17 games to get that average up into the mid 250s. 2-0 is a strike. Drilled into center and a base hit. He's now 7 out of 18 against Harang in his career. And we'll get a pinch hitter for Herron. It'll be Tommy La Stella. A short outing, a lot of pitches for Dan Herron. 74 made in his 3 innings. Charged with 4 runs.
Yeah, and I think Joe just, he's down 3 runs here, and Aaron Harang has not been good lately, as I've mentioned. He's been good here today, but carried an ERA above 8 over his last 3 starts into this start. So you want to take every opportunity you can to do some damage against him.
Yeah, you've got an off day tomorrow. You've got veterans starting that Pirates series. Your top 4 guys will go in that set.
And you got a small platoon out there in the bullpen.
Yep. Guys need the work. Two 2-0 on the pinch hitter. La Stella. Missed again. Former Cub Darwin Barney was sent from the Dodgers to the Blue Jays in the aftermath of Troy Tulowitzki injuring his back. He's got a crack, very tiny crack in his left shoulder blade. Barney would not be eligible for their postseason roster since he was not in the Jays organization on August 31st. Ball 4. 2-out rally. Cubs have been good at that here lately, and it'll give Addison Russell a chance.
Man, that's a big battery out there, isn't it, with Harang and Rupp?
Yeah.
A couple large dudes.
When you look at Aaron Harang, can't you see him in his post-playing days being an actor?
What are you going for?
Well, just, kind of the trying to think of the guy. He was an offensive or defensive lineman in the NFL, and he's now popped up on several movies, kind of smaller roles. It's like The Muscle or whatever. Aaron Harang is 6'7". I got to think of the NFL guy. He reminds me of
he could be the next Merlin Olsen.
There you go.
He's probably a little upset with himself right now with a walk to La Stella. Brings Russell to the plate, representing the tying run.
Two and one.
Russell's job here, force the veteran Harang into the strike zone. Harang is going to try to get him to hit his pitch, whether it be slider away, maybe that 2-seamer in on the hands. Good take. There's a chase slider there. He started to go, but able to lay off. Now, what do you do if you're Aaron Harang?
Fowler on deck. The kick and the 3-1 is a strike.
I'm surprised that Addison didn't turn it loose there. And again, I think a lot of it is the deceptive nature of Harang's fastball. That short arm delivery See guys sometimes just not able to pull the trigger.
Runners going to 3-2 and a base hit to right. Castro coming around third. He will score. 2-out RBI hit. Addison Russell. It's 4-2.
2-out runs really a story in this series. Phillies very good in that regard last night. Addison Russell a big 2-out knock here coming after the pinch hit walk to La Stella. So Castro gets it started. Solid single after a couple of punch outs. Walk and then RBI single for Russell. And a big chance for Fowler.
Cubs have been good with the 2-out bit here in this series. Fowler started a couple of those in the doubleheader. And he fouls away.
Robbed of extra bases by Bogusevic last time up.
Matt Willig. Does that name sound familiar? 14 years in the NFL. You've seen him in a few movies. You just don't know the name. Yeah, he was not a star player. But he played for a long time. And Aaron Harang would kind of fit that profile. Ball and 2 strikes. Long pause from the belt. Fastball missed.
Fowler one of 3 Cubs with more than 50 extra base hits. There's only 6 teams in baseball that can make that claim. Cubs in terms of total extra base hits from their trifecta of Rizzo, Bryant, and Fowler, trailing only Donaldson, Batista, and Encarnacion of the Blue Jays.
In the air out into right center. On the move is Herrera, and he will get to the spot to end the threat. The Cubs get 1 and trail by 2 in the 4th. Looked like a tough guy, 6'7".
Yeah, folded his arms. Said, "You're not getting in here without an ID."
Yeah.
Boss, what do you want me to do with the body? That guy. These pretzels are making me thirsty. Maybe not that guy. Clayton Richard has pitched 16 times for the Cubs. He's 3-1 with a 4.26 ERA. 3 of those 16 as a starter.
And Richard will make the play, but Rizzo couldn't hang on to it. Like the glove and the runner got there right at the same time, or the ball did, and Anthony couldn't catch it.
Eric Cooper out behind home plate, looking down, making eye contact with his partner Quinn Walcott at first base, saying, "Yeah, he's okay. He was in the lane."
He just dropped it.
Yeah,
should be an error on Rizzo.
Clayton maybe just a little too deliberate here. Base runner gets that close, it becomes a little bit of an issue for the first baseman reaching into the base runner to try to make that catch. There's that fine line between panic and a sense of urgency on a play like that.
Second error in as many games for the very normally sure-handed Rizzo. I don't want to make too much out of it, but he's been the one guy who hasn't had any time off. Maybe Joe will give him one game off here soon, although you got the Pirates and the Cardinals coming up. So
yeah, no, he's not getting any time off. He's getting tomorrow off.
Swing and a miss by Galvis.
And even though Anthony charged with the error there, for me, I put that one on Clayton as much, just because if he goes a little bit quicker, it's an easier play for Anthony.
Right. Well, I think there is kind of a deliberate nature to Richard's game.
Yeah, and like I said, normally that's the one thing you don't want to be in too big of a hurry there and mishandle the ball.
Bounce toward the middle. That'll take Russell right to Castro, and they can only get one.
I didn't know if Russell would have had a chance to take this one himself. I'm guessing that big high hop forced him too far back behind the bag where that was no longer an option. Maybe if he takes a more aggressive angle and cuts it off, perhaps.
Now Herrera.
Richard doing what he does, getting ground balls.
Okay, so Herrera, we've talked about his foot placement. Did you notice his grip on the bat? Watch the top hand. I just noticed it.
You got the overlap working?
He does. He looks like he's got one or two fingers overlapping. At least when he starts.
Like a golf grip.
Look at that.
It forces him to pull maybe with the front hand a little bit more, and allows him to throw the head with the barrel of the bat.
Good bunt. And he's going to make it.
And I got some burners at the top of the order. Hernandez, Galvis, and Herrera all can beat you with their legs. We've seen it in this inning. Error on a ball that could have been ruled an infield hit. Now a very nice bunt single by Herrera. Good decision not to make the throw to first base by Montero. Tried to sneak in behind Galvis, but he was wise to it.
Yeah, that soft top hand grip. It does go to show you, though, how the bottom hand supplies all that power. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen a guy grip the bat quite like that.
Yeah, I've seen some guys do like a little one finger. You know, the pinky overlaps a little bit. It looked like he had a couple fingers.
One strike on Altair. Big leg kick by Richard. The pitch is outside.
Maybe, you know, maybe there was a time where he felt like he was gripping the bat too tightly with the top hand. You know, you see some guys will kind of wiggle their fingers like they're playing a horn of some sort with that top hand, just trying to loosen the grip.
1-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Right now is a great time to plan for your 2016 Cubs spring training experience at beautiful Sloan Park. Go to Cubs.com/Mesa to place a deposit on season tickets and secure the best seats available. Individual spring training tickets will go on sale in January. Be sure to visit Cubs.com/Mesa for the latest updates.
Cardinals now lead Cincinnati 4-2 in the 6th. They trailed that game early 2-0. Milwaukee with a 6-1 lead at Pittsburgh in the 4th. Two on, two down. Howard bounces one right into the shift. A little slip by Castro, but he recovers and makes the play. So Howard, who had knocked in 3 in his first 2 at-bats, makes the 3rd out this time. Bank, the curious bank. Aaron Harang has had a rough go of it after a very good start. His ERA at the end of May was right around 2. But since then, it has been almost 8. He's leading 4-2. Schwarber, Coghlan, Rizzo, and a strike. One and one. Sad news. A name obviously a lot of fans won't know, but every broadcaster around baseball and Dodger employees remember Dave Pearson, stadium chef at Dodger Stadium, has passed away at 75. We used to enjoy meals at Dave's Diner.
Chef Dave, yep.
Press box at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, we missed him last time we were out there. I knew he was in ill health. That's very sad news. Wonderful guy. Always had a big smile on his face.
He actually was born in Brooklyn, rooting for the Dodgers. Deep. Herrera back. Little leap, and he's got it right near the 398 marker. Kyle Schwarber has made his presence felt this weekend, even though he's 0 for 3 in this ball game.
Yeah, just didn't get it up high enough to take advantage of that strong wind blowing out in that direction. Nice play by Herrera, the converted infielder. Certainly has plenty of speed to play center field. At times takes some funky routes out there, but they figure it out, and that was a fine play. So back in the play that Bogusevic made on Fowler, that would have been a leadoff double at least. Likewise here for Schwarber.
Oakland fouls out of play. Xfinity speed replay. Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. 2 at-bats, 2 triples. Apparently he does not want to hit for the cycle.
He's going for the triple. Got the double triple right now. Now he needs the triple.
Deep to right. And gone. Triple homer.
My goodness.
4-3.
How about 10 total bases, 3 trips to the plate, and I'll say it again. This dude is locked in. He's not missing that fastball. Could be a 3 home run day for him. He'll have to settle for a couple of 3-baggers and one long home run. That one did not need any help.
He's going to get a couple of more chances. What a day.
And given the contact he's had, the ball Schwarber hit, I suspect the Phillies are going to get somebody up in their bullpen. Well, loud noises here to start the 5th.
Rizzo going with the no batting gloves. I don't think he did that earlier. Mixing it up a bit. Chris Coghlan.
I had that note earlier about the Cubs having 3 players with 50 extra base hits or more. Coghlan with 3 here today, now up to 44, so he'll join that group sooner or later.
This is his 133rd game. That's a career high. 16 home runs, career best. Altair. So a cycle, the minimum total base is 10, right? 4, 3, 2, 1. You just mentioned Coghlan, already 10 total bases, so you could claim he has had a performance as impressive as a cycle.
I would say more so, because the cycle you need 4 plate appearances. He's done it in 3.
Call it a tricycle.
2 triples? Who does that in the game? Rare, very rare.
You know who does? Chris Coghlan does.
Nothing wrong with a big swing here on 2-0. 2 out, nobody on. Been one to air it out on. Just didn't like it. Maybe a little too low. for his liking. He's pretty good down there, though. Chris Bryant can get that low ball in the air.
Ground ball. Scooped by Hernandez, the second baseman, over on the shortstop side. Chris Coghlan just missing a home run his first 2 trips. Cranks one out of here, and it's a 1-run ball game. However, for the Cubs, 2 triples and a home run. Rupp, Bogusevic, and Ashe against Clayton Richard. High fly to right. Coghlan still back. He's got it up against the out-of-town board. As you see, it's 4-0 Washington in Miami.
Good multitasking. Call the play, catch the out-of-town score. So that one got up in the wind. Created a little bit of an issue there for Coghlan, but able to haul it in. Powerball's up to $167 million.
Bogusevic. It is going to be a big-time bullpen day. Aaron went 3. Richard in his second inning of work. And if the Cubs are going to come back and win this game, keeping the Phillies down the rest of the way will be important. Carl Edwards Jr. is up.
Yeah, and Joe intimated before the game that there are going to be a number of guys out there not available today. So it's going to be a different cast of characters. Perhaps Fernando Rodney at the end if the Cubs have a lead.
Off the inside corner, 2-2. We got him. Two outs. It's Ashe who has walked twice, once intentionally. First plate appearance he walked, and later was thrown out trying to score. So Clayton Richard's alma mater, Michigan, winning its home debut under their new coach Jim Harbaugh. So they beat Michigan, beat Oregon State, right? And Michigan State beat Oregon. A little confusing.
I believe that's correct.
Universities mixing and matching.
Yeah. Michigan State and Oregon are both top 10 schools, I believe.
One and two.
One's a Ducks and one's a Beaver, right?
Yes.
The
Oregon Ducks, Oregon State Beavers. Richard was a quarterback at Michigan.
He was Mr. Football and Mr. Baseball in the state of Indiana when he was in high school.
First player ever to garner both accolades. Beat out Jeff Samardzija, the Mr. Football, in 2002. Bounce back to Clayton. The underhand toss to Rizzo. And the Phillies go down in order. It's 4-3 Philadelphia after 5. Fans here on a Sunday afternoon. Text Subway to 9799990 right now for your chance to win 6 meals from the Simple 6 menu at Subway. Subway, eat fresh. Message and data rates may apply.
How does that yellow guy do that?
Hector Neris here in the 6th.
Aaron Harang has qualified for the win. He's got a 1-run lead. Now he's going to have to be a cheerleader and hope the bullpen could hold down the Cubs. Cubs have very good swings against Harang the last couple of innings in particular. See if they can get it done against the Philly bullpen here. Neris 2-2, 4.09 the ERA. 3-pitch mix, fastball, slider, and a splitter.
From the stretch to Montero, outside, ball 1.
Starts with that split finger grip. He's got big hands. He just swallows up that baseball.
Three 3-0 on the Cubs leadoff man this inning.
Decision time for Joe Madden whether to turn Montero loose here. Normally he would.
Borderline strike.
Yeah. And even if you're looking to hit 3-0, you really don't want to offer it that one. You're looking something a little out over the plate and up a bit. That ball down and out.
Castro, and then likely a pinch hitter for Richard. Back to the mound. Neris comes all the way back from 3-0 and gets Montero. Let's step aside and see what's coming up on good old Channel 9. Glenn and JD and our WGN crew from Philadelphia. Good start to this series. The Cubs swept a makeup doubleheader on Friday, but Phillies won a wild one last night. And they lead 4-3 here today. That is a fair ball. Castro is thrown out by Ashe.
Starlin line drive single earlier in the game. He's been driving the ball. That time he pulled off a little bit. Home run off Neris in game one of that doubleheader on Friday.
Richard will take the at bat with 2 outs, nobody on.
Maybe that's the way to air it out.
Throwing the deep post route, right? Take a shot.
It's kind of a steep path at the ball. Big, strong guy, Clayton Richard.
Two on its way, and it misses high and outside. Russell on deck. Addison with an RBI hit his last time up. Called strike 3, and the inning is over. 4-3 Phillies. The Orioles. Here's the best part coming up.
Oh, baby.
Sound like Wolfman Jack.
Maybe on South Street. Oh, we didn't show you South Street, but there was a song of South Street before you start tweeting. It was Ninth and Passyunk. Darnell Sweeney will pinch hit. Oh, baby. Clayton Richard deals outside. Gets away from Montero. 2-1.
Every now and then Clayton will shoot one up, but he likes to do all his work, most of his work down around the knees with that sinker. Do weak contact, a couple punch outs here, one deep drive to right, high fly ball anyway. He's been sharp thus far. Now he's got to make a pitch down 3-1.
Not so fast. 3-2. Call strike 3. That was a replay, I think, of strike 2.
Strike 3, awful lot like strike 2. After taking strike 2, Sweeney just not convinced that was a strike, so he laid off again and got rung up.
Hernandez 0 for 3, reached down an error in the 4th. Fair. Barber thought that ball was foul. He's going to go after it. Ends up being a single for Hernandez.
Well, was that ever well played by Coughlin? With his speed, you see that ball down the line, you would assume it's at least 2, maybe 3. If it goes all the way to the corner, 3. But you figure anything else is going to be 2 bases for Hernandez. But Coughlin and the ball girl in hot pursuit there. I think Coughlin called her off, said, "I got it. You're good." She's not sure. She's getting ready to play the carom. Then she's going to go get the ball, and Chris calls her off, says, "I got it." Caesar settles for 1, capable of stealing.
Bryce Harper left the Nationals game for precautionary reasons today. In the first inning, he collided with Derek Dietrich of the Marlins at second base. No word on what, if any, injuries occurred, but maybe just generally shaken up. It feels like the Nationals are that team where everything that can go wrong this year is going to.
Yeah, they've had a lot of injuries. Now they're starting to get freak injuries. Drew Thorne slammed his hand into the locker and broke his thumb. Done for the year.
They lead that game 4-0, but they're only 1 over 500. Time is running out. 9.5 behind the Mets, who have a 4-3 lead in the 7th in Atlanta. Double play ball potentially, and they get it. Nice dig by Rizzo. 6-4-3.
But he's going back to the base as this pitch is being delivered. Otherwise, with his speed, he would have a chance of getting into Starlin there and upending that double play. It's just one of those little inside baseball things. Comes under the category of playing the whole game. You can't be going back to the base as the pitch is being delivered. We had a ground ball guy on the mound. That would have kept the inning alive, or at least potentially could have kept the inning alive for the Phillies.
Galia Hinojosa is on for the Phillies here in the 7th inning. And Russell, who started that double play, will be the first Cub batter here in the 7th.
Hinojosa, limited work at the big league level, but good work so far.
Hey, a shout out to Rich Hill, the former Cub. He's back in the big leagues with his hometown Red Sox. And brilliant today in a no decision at Tampa Bay. 7 innings, 1 hit, no runs. He walked 1, struck out 10. Rich is now 35 years old. A little time with the Yankees last year. Parts of 10 major league seasons. Big part of the Cubs 2007 NL Central championship team. Made 32 starts that year. Bounce to the shortstop. That's Galvis. Not a good throw. Howard can't dig it out. Error. Freddie Galvis.
Galvis has had throwing issues throughout this series, and Howard's had catching issues as well. Now, this one's clearly in E6. The ball didn't get there, and that's a ball that a lot of first basemen are going to pick.
Here's our Cubs Ford upcoming schedule. Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at localfordstores.com. We'll have game 2 Tuesday evening from Pittsburgh here on WGN, and then the day game on Thursday. Dexter Fowler lofts one to center. Herrera over into right center's got it. Kyle Schwarber.
Time for some damage.
Are you predicting damage?
I'm predicting damage.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of feels like it's all set up for Schwarber, doesn't it?
Love that swing he had last time. See if he gets something here early. 3 home runs in this series, all 3 coming on first pitches. Well placed. There's just something about his look in the batter's box. Kind of open stance, just lays that bat back on his shoulder, looks out at the pitcher as if to say, all right, let's do this.
Howard holding on the runner. The pitch. 2-1.
And playing for 2 in the middle. A big hole on the right side. Ground ball base hit to right. Russell should get to third easily.
Man of the day, Chris Coghlan, waiting in the wings. 2 triples and a home run. Nice note from Jason Carr, the Cubs media relations staff. According to Baseball Reference, Coghlan, the second Cub since 1914 to have at least 2 triples and a home run in one game. Roy Smalley did it 1950 in Boston against the Braves. Vicious cut by Schwarber. 3-2.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll get another one like that one.
Will he send him here? Nope, not going, and ball 4.
Well, no damage, but a good plate appearance. Schwarber works the walk. Meet your favorite Cub players and alumni at the 2016 Cubs Convention, which takes place January 15th through the 17th. It'll all happen at the Sheraton Chicago Hotel and Towers. Book your hotel stay now. Weekend passes will go on sale later this month. Stay updated by visiting Cubs.com/convention.
Mentioned this last night. This probably would have been Jake Diekman's inning, right? Prior to the trade.
Yep. They don't really have a guy. I don't think Pete McCannon's comfortable as a shutdown lefty.
2 on, 1 out for the sizzling hot Coghlan. Already 3 for 3. Pirates on the comeback trail now, down 6-4 to the Brewers. They just put up 3 in the 4th. They're now going to the 6th. Chris Davis has hit his 20th today for the Brewers. Pedro Alvarez with number 23.
Chris Davis has been on a pretty good roll here lately. Here's Coghlan again, and a hitter's count. Last 3 days, he's squared up just about every fastball he has seen in the zone.
3-0. Phillies fans getting a little restless.
So conventional wisdom would say, with Rizzo on deck, you probably don't give him the green light here, but the way he's swinging it, I'd turn him loose.
Southwest Airlines, how far did it fly? 404 feet. To the back of that lower section. Hinojosa with a 3-1. Full count, 3-2.
Nothing wrong with offering at that one. It just didn't get it.
Ex-Cub Jerome Williams is up in the Phillies bullpen. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Coghlan. Here it is. We'll do it once again.
Hinojosa, 29 years of age. He's from Cuba. Spent some time with the Red Sox earlier this year.
That's his sign from Rupp. Another payoff delivery. Bounce toward first, foul.
Came off the fastball, and Coghlan able to get a piece of that breaking pitch to stay alive. 8 seasons pitching in Cuba for Hinojosa. Last year was his first year in the States, pitching at AAA Pawtucket for the Sox.
Driven to deep center. Herrera going back on it, and he's going to make the grab on the warning track. That'll send Russell to third. There are 2 outs. Chris Coghlan making a lot of noise today.
Just unbelievable, the quality of his at-bats. All these balls he hit hard, if they found holes, my goodness, the damage he'd be doing. Herrera looked like a defensive back going back on that one. Never turned his back to home plate, just sidestepping it out there.
First year, Herrera just playing every day in center field, a former middle infielder. Chance here for Rizzo. Tying run is 90 feet away. Felt like they had Hinojosa on the ropes here. Don't want to let him off the hook in the 7th. Fouled.
Now, whereas Coughlin's been squaring up all these fastballs, Anthony's just been off it a little bit. High fly balls, pop-ups, not quite getting the head out.
Back to the batting gloves this time around. A 1-2 pitch, knocked down as he bounced it in front of home plate. As JD mentioned, Rupp's a big target.
Going where Kyle Schwarber at first base probably could have played that a little more aggressively.
Second baseman will charge.
Oh my.
And Hernandez can't make the play. A collision at first. Cubs have tied it. And hopefully both guys are okay, as Rizzo and Hernandez came together, and it looked like Hernandez took the worst of it. It's 4-4 here in the 7th.
And no doubt he took the worst of it. Anthony nodding early that I'm okay. And anytime you're going to run into Anthony Rizzo, you're probably going to come up on the wrong end of it. Phillies are trying to give this one away. Second error in the inning and a very routine play. And then the contact.
Anthony Rizzo is one of the last guys you want to run into, so Hernandez will exit. And they're holding that left hand / arm, and now the Cubs looking at Anthony Rizzo. Bill Madden and Ed Halber. Andres Blanco will come in for Hernandez.
What have they done? It looks like obviously hand, wrist, finger, thumb, something like that for Hernandez. But Galvis made the throwing error to get things started, and now Hernandez is playing this ball. It really opened the door up. Credit Rizzo with good hustle, not giving up on the play. There's though, yeah, his left hand's tucked underneath there. Looks like that thumb is out of place.
That does not look good. For Bryant bats, Bob McClure, the pitching coach, will head to the mound. Ooh, that was ugly. So the Cubs, using 2 errors by the Phillies, have tied it up here in the 7th.
Cub fans, don't miss your chance to catch the best matchups in baseball. Reserve your place in line for history in the making. Join the season ticket holder waiting list. It's easy, free to register. For details, visit Cubs.com/waiting list.
No hits in this inning. 2 errors, a walk. The pitch to Chris Bryant misses. Ball 1. A run in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, and the game tire here in the 7th. After the Phillies led 4-1 after 3. One and 1 to Bryant.
Chris Bryant, .316 batting average with runners in scoring position this year. Runners in scoring position, 2 outs. He's hitting .392.
Out of play. 1 and 2. Schwarber at second. Rizzo is at first. The pitch. Fly ball right field. Bogasevic goes back. And he makes another nice catch. Running grab on the warning track right up against the fence. Hall & Oates, Philadelphia's finest. 4-4 stretch time. Mancan. TSOP, the sound of Philadelphia, back in 1974, MFSB.
Mother, father, sister, brother.
You're correct. Part of the Philadelphia soul sound. Four to four. Clayton Richard continues. 3 scoreless relief innings after Dan Herron allowed 4 runs in his 3 innings of work. Herrera fouls. It's be a much needed win. The Cardinals pulling away in Cincinnati, leading 9-2 over the Reds. Pirates still down 6-4, but only in the 6th inning in that one.
They seem to find a way to come back in their home ballpark. Good thing Herrera didn't swing at that one.
They're actually playing in Cleveland today.
Who is?
Back-to-back rainouts.
Oh.
And they're playing a doubleheader. Cleveland leading Detroit 4-2. A win today, and the Indians are back to 500. They've won 11 of 15.
Are they in a position? Could they possibly secure a wild card spot?
Why not? They're 4 back.
It's doable.
No, it's doable.
Doable. It's doable.
I see. Doable. I got you.
It's within the realm.
1-2 pitch misses outside. The Rays have 1 hit today. We mentioned Rich Hill's performance. Bottom of the 10th, Red Sox and Rays scoreless. Nationals did beat the Marlins 5-0 the final. Max Scherzer beat Brad Hand. Bouncer to Castro, plays in the midsection and gets his man.
The newborn fan club is the perfect gift to showcase what it means to be a Cub for life. Receive a customized photo of the Wrigley Field marquee, a Cubs birth certificate, baby stocking cap, and a Rookie of the Year onesie. Visit Cubs.com/kids today.
Dislocated left thumb. That's the word from the Phillies on Cesar Hernandez, and it looked bad. Strike to Altair. A walk, a double, a run, and a strikeout for the Phillies left fielder. And there's another base hit. And he will make his way into second, and he's trying for 3, and he's going to get in. Wow. That looked like a single off the bat. It ended up being a triple.
Should have been a double. Trouble picking it up out there in center field by Fowler, allowing Altair to get all the way to third base. Ball was hit hard. He's able to split the gap, and he was able to show off those wheels. Skipping and bounding and rolling all the way to the wall. It just took Dexter a little while to get that ball back in.
He can move. Outfield grass a little wet due to the rain we got earlier, so that ball tended to skid a little bit. And now the Cubs will have to bring their infield in against Brian Howard. Sac fly for Howard in the first. A 2-run homer in the third. He grounded out in the fourth.
the great unlikelihood that Howard would hit the ball on the ground on the left side. Chris Bryant holding Altera on there like a first baseman.
Swing and a miss. Now you're thinking strikeout. Here it comes. He struck him out.
Yeah, I think the plan there was just stay out of the zone, try to get him to chase. You know, Howard's up there trying to drive that run home. If you end up walking him there, play for two. Some really good work here by Clayton Richard this afternoon.
Chris Bosio will head out before Rupp bats. Got a left-handed hitter after Rupp. That's Bogusevic. So you got some options with a couple of bases open. Actually have two lefties after Rupp, Bogusevic and then Ashe.
And no guarantee either one of those lefties would take the at bat.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned, I think last night we had a shot of a pitching coach and a reliever. He said the retention was about 30%. I think Clayton Richard was 100% tuned in when he chatted with Chris Bosio and they discussed what they want to do.
Yeah, it was Montero talking to Grimm last night, and Justin was just in that mode where he was really hyped up.
Ball one.
A lot of times the guys they're paying attention, they just don't retain it because their mind is racing.
Infield back, 2 outs. The 1-0 pitch bounces away. Altera on his way to the plate, and he'll score. 5-4 Phillies. Montero angrily tosses the ball toward the Philly dugout.
I got caught reaching instead of blocking. Instead of just dropping down and using his chest protector, he tries to pick it, kicks off his glove, and that allows the run to score. So it'll go as a wild pitch. But Miggy will tell you that that's on him.
Base is empty. 2-0 is foul. 2-1.
Cubs are going to have to come back again.
Yep. Hoisted to right. Here's Coughlin, and that will end the inning. But the Phillies retake the lead. Budweiser, still brewed the hard way. This Bud's for you. Darren Ruff is into play first as part of a double switch for Pete Buchanan, and a former Cub who actually made a start against the Cubs at Wrigley Field in late July. Working in the setup relief today, Jerome Williams.
Williams, like Harang, has been around a long time. Broke in with the Giants back in 2003. 4-10 with a .590 earned run average this year. 26 games, 21 as a starter.
6 innings, 3 runs allowed in a no decision as a starter on Friday, July 24th, as Miguel Montero sends one deep to center, and it's going to be caught on the warning track. He gave it a ride.
Yeah, he did. Just hit it to a very biggest part of the ballpark.
Comes Starlin Castro. 1 for 3 with a run. Playing second base.
Williams throws a sinker, cutter, curve, change, split, whatever you need. He's got a lot of options.
He's from Hawaii. Here comes a 1-0. Low. High draft pick, 39th overall. The 99 amateur draft by the Giants.
Same year Harang went. Guys have had some staying power. There's a Yoshiwada sighting.
Ground to Galvis, the shortstop.
Keep up with the pennant races and true HD quality on MLB.TV Premium. Watch every out-of-market game live on more than 400 supported devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and more. Visit MLB.TV today. Well, 2 quick outs here in the 8th. Probably have to deal with Giles in the 9th, I would think.
Austin Jackson pinch hitting for Clayton Richard. He gave up 1 run in his 4 innings. Right now is the pitcher of record.
Yeah, he really threw the ball well. Victimized a little bit by his defense. No errors charged in that last inning, but Dexter not able to get that ball back in, and then Montero trying to pick that ball in the dirt. Had to kick off his glove and go to the backstop for the go-ahead run.
Outside, 1-2. Count holding here on Jackson. Final game of this season series. Back in the division the rest of the way, right? Except for Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
A makeup game against the Royals on the 28th, but everything else will be against the National League Central. Swing and a miss. Williams with a 1-2-3 eighth inning. 5-4 Phillies. Now at your Honda dealer, 5-4 Phillies. Ryan Howard with a 2-run homer in the third inning. Huge day for Chris Coughlin. He has tripled twice and homered once. Rough day for Dan Herron. Aaron Harang went 5 innings, but this game largely decided now by the bullpens. As Clayton Richard went 4 innings, gave up the go-ahead run on a wild pitch. We want to welcome those viewers who just watched the Packers and the Bears. Unfortunately, the Bears came up 8 points short today. Here's Carl Edwards Jr. for his second Major League appearance.
Made his debut Monday in St. Louis. It's the scoreless 8th inning. 5-3, 6 saves, 2.77 ERA. 36 relief appearances between AA Tennessee and AAA Iowa.
Outside, ball 1. Debuted on Monday in St. Louis. Parents flew in from South Carolina to St. Louis. Their first ever experience flying. He recently welcomed in to the world a baby girl. Turned 24. Made his Major League debut. A lot going on for Carl. CJ is what everybody calls him. He prefers the kind of official name to be Carl Edwards Jr. in honor of his dad, Carl. Bogusevic hits a ground ball to Castro on a short throw for Starlin. I know you jump on Baseball Reference a lot, as I do. And one of the things they put next to the full name of the Major League player is a nickname or two. I have not heard this, but they have in parentheses the String Bean Slinger.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
I like that. He was walking around the clubhouse the other day. He had his jersey pants on and his socks over the jersey. So he had instead of the socks tucked in under the pant legs, he had the pant legs tucked in to the socks. Spring Bean.
The old string bean right-hander.
Two strikes to Ashe. Swing and a miss. Pitch in the dirt. And Montero just able to recover in time. Edwards nearly picked it up. I don't know if I've ever seen a pitcher on a strikeout throw out the guy.
No,
first.
no, that would have been a first for me had he been able to get there and make that play. Snapped off some real good curveballs in that sequence to Ashe, including strike 3.
First career strikeout. And certainly eventful. You notice Ashe? You think that was on purpose?
The bat?
Yeah.
I don't know.
If so, that's resourceful. Hard to think a guy in that spot could think that quickly, but watch.
I think he did.
Darren Ruff backwards is Fernarad. Three and 0.
Darren Ruff has big time power. 38 home runs in the minor leagues 2-3 seasons ago. Much better against lefties and righties, however. Baseball America had Edwards as the 38th best prospect in baseball prior to this season.
Two-out walk. We'll bring up Blanco, who came in for the injured Hernandez in the 7th to play second base. And Giles, the closer. He was impressive last night. And he got the win. An inning and a third, 3 strikeouts. One and one to the switch hitter. Past a diving Bryant. And rolls into left where Schwarber will retrieve.
Joe said that he might have to use some different guys out of the bullpen here this afternoon. So this is a fairly high leverage situation for a guy making his second major league appearance. Down a run on the road late.
For Galvis bats, it'll be Chris Bosio to head out.
Galvis, who is a switch hitter, is the lefty Herrera. Wada was up earlier. Edwards, a 48th round pick of the Rangers in 2011. Imagine a lot of teams were scared away by that frame.
Yep.
It's one of the challenges of scouting, is being willing to take a chance on an outlier guy where everybody else says, well, I don't trust the kid. He weighs 100, whatever he weighed back in the day. I mean, $160 or whatever he is now, $170 maybe. Back then, he might have been 150 pounds. And sometimes that's a tough sell for a scout. Yep. Say, hey, I want us to draft this kid. I don't know if he could stay on the mound in a heavy wind. He might tip over, but he's got a pretty good arm.
Galvis gets a hold of one. Coughlin on the move. Can't make the play up against the wall. They're going to get 2 runs. Galvis tried for 3. He's going to be out. Both runs scored, however. That will make it a 3-run ball game. 7-4 as we head to the 9th. As Dalier Hinojosa will get his first major league win. Ken Giles trying to save it. It would be his 16th if he gets it.
He was a winning pitcher in the ball game last night, and coming back against a guy like Giles when you're down 1 is a big enough chore. Now the Cubs have a real big mountain to climb, down 3, but you never know. Russell can get things started, turn the lineup over, make some noise.
Outside corner 97 to start the 9th. Oh, 2. That's pretty much the repertoire for Giles. Fastball, slider, everything pretty hard.
And he's at 99. We saw him there last night. 96 to 99 with the heater. Kind of shape that slider a little bit, make it a little bigger and a little softer at times.
Caught by Ashe off the end of the bat. It was not hit terribly hard. Russell just couldn't get it by the third baseman.
front a little bit. The Cubs have hit into some tough luck today. There's been a lot of balls that have turned into outs.
Slicing drive by Fowler to the seats, out of play. Michael Wacha got his 16th win, 9-2 Cardinals over the Reds in Cincinnati. Pham and Adams, Matt Adams is back. He homered along with Tommy Pham. Todd Frazier hit his 33rd. And a base hit, center field. Fowler on for the first time today.
There's the start.
He has been the start of several run-scoring rallies in this series.
Got on top of that heater, just beat it into the ground.
The Pirates have tied the Brewers 6-6 in the bottom of the 7th. It was a 6-1 ball game in the 4th. Schwarber swings and misses, 1-1. Kenneth Robert Giles, native of Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Ooh, that's crisp there. 96 was run to the corner.
Just a few days shy of his 25th birthday. It's 1-2 on Schwarber.
Schwarber worked a walk last time. Previous at bat hit a deep drive to center field that Herrera ran down. This stage of the game, just keep the line moving.
Gets away and allows Fowler to move to second.
A pretty good piece of Eric Cooper, the home plate umpire.
Wild pitch on Giles. I don't often do the name backwards thing like Harry did. Every once in a while it's fun in homage, but got to do two today. Ken Giles backwards is Seelig Neck. Seelig Neck. In honor of our former commissioner. Two and two to Schwarber. Coghlan on deck. Man, you'd love to have him at the plate as the tying run. The way he's swinging the bat today.
A situation where a hitter might be anxious. Schwarber, at least to this point, showing good patience. And Kyle strikes out a fair bit, but he takes his walks. He's way above league average in terms of walks per plate appearance.
Line shot. Caught. Altair. 2 outs. Let's see if Coghlan can keep the Cubs alive for Anthony Rizzo. Good news from San Francisco. The Padres have an early lead, 3-0 over the Giants. Closest pursuer to the Cubs for the second wild card spot. 8.5 back. Swing and a miss. It's 0-2 on Coughlin. Cubs are probably going to the postseason. The Phillies knew a long time ago they were not. But they're an out away from going 5-2 against the Cubs.
Seem unjust for Coughlin to make the last out of this ball game of the day he has had. But this game isn't always fair.
Got the closer's gaze, doesn't he? He kind of leers in. Look at Fowler and a 1-2. Base hit right field. Fowler will hold and the tying run will come up. Chris Coughlin has his 4th hit.
What a performance. Just a brilliant day at the plate. He keeps it alive for Rizzo. Fastball downstairs and he just drops the head on it. Rips it by Blanco. The only time they got him out, he hit a bullet to center field. This is good stuff here. Rizzo in the box, representing the tying run. Posey closer on the mound. A quiet day for Anthony so far.
Coughlin will take second without a throw, no steal. Let's take a forced play away. 7-4 Phillies, 2 outs, 9th inning. Lined and caught. Blanco is playing in shallow right, and that will end the ball game. Final score.